Hi, Hemish.
Hi, Olivia.
Would you like to introduce yourself and tell me a bit about RX Group?
Yes, so my name is Hemish Ilangaratne. So I'm the founder of RX Group. So RX Group is a pharma and biotech recruitment firm that focuses on the US pharma and biotech sector. Been going for 2.5 years, or just over 2.5 years now.
What motivated you to make that transition from working for another company into being a founder?
Good question. Well, I was with the same company for 11 years and I was very much in a people management role, like in the last 6, 7 years. So I think it was just more of a case I was seeing people that I'd hired go and do their own thing after like 4 or 5 years, which was amazing because I was happy for them that they were doing their own thing. But it was also quite, for me, like I'm training these guys up and then they're just going to set up on their own. So it was kind of I don't know, at some point I was like, why can't I do this? So yeah, I think it was a long time in the planning. Like I was thinking about it for about 3 or 4 years before I actually set up. And then I just thought it was a cool thing to do. Like COVID probably played a big part in it because it was a bit easier to do from your remote setup or whatever it may be. So yeah, eventually sort of took the leap and spoke to Edmund for probably about 2 years before I actually set up. So it was a long lead up period, but yeah, I think it was just the sort of the fear of not doing it at the time when I did it. In my life, it was probably a good time to do it. Whereas I could have waited another 5 or 6 years, and my life would have been quite different, and I might not have had the time or energy to do it. So I felt let's just take the plunge now and do it.
Yeah, of course. And I know you said you were talking to Edmund for a couple of years. Did you explore any other options for setting up your business, and why did you ultimately go with Recruit Hub?
Yeah, no, I didn't really explore any other options, like in terms of companies that are similar to Recruit Hub. I went with Recruit Hub, honestly, because I really bought into Edmund. I thought like, he came across really credible. I felt that Recruit Hub's platform that they provided was a great technology stack, which for me, having not had a market to tap into straight away, was going to be really important. So I felt like I wanted just to focus on sales, and I thought, the platform, everything like that would enable me just to go all in on sales and not be worried about too much of the operational stuff. And then the other thing was probably just the founder network. It was probably not the size as it is now, but there was some still amazing people in it at the time. I went to a couple of events and spoke to a couple of people. Everyone spoke highly of the other founders. Everyone spoke highly of Edmund and Recruit Hub in general. So yeah, I think taking all of that into account, it seemed like a no-brainer for me just to go with Recruit Hub. So I'm glad I did.
Brilliant. That's good to hear. And I know that I guess a trigger for you was seeing people that you were managing and mentoring starting their own businesses. But is there anything in particular about the recruitment industry that you're actively trying to fix through RX Group?
That's a good question. Anything that I'm actively trying to fix? I started into recruitment in 2011, and it was a very different environment. Recruitment. It was Wild West.
Yeah.
It was cold calling every day, try and dial as many people as you could. It was an environment which was probably not conducive to people that in this generation would probably thrive. And I think that the way that recruitment can be done now has changed a lot. And I think there's still a lot of work to be done. But I think, the perception of recruitment companies in general has changed for the positive. I think the recruitment industry as a whole is a lot more collaborative now. I think back 10 years ago, you would never have founders of recruitment companies talking to other founders of recruitment companies and sharing ideas and collaborating like that. That just wouldn't be heard of. Whereas now it happens. There are so many different communities that enable that, which I think is a really good thing. And I think that the general way that recruitment is done now compared to 10 years ago is a lot less transactional. I think it's a lot more customer centric, and that's probably because of, I think you get found out in this industry. You will get found out if you're not coming across in a genuine, authentic and customer centric ways. Am I trying to fix something? Well, I wouldn't say I'm trying to fix something, but I think that I definitely think that there's work to be done that can sort of transform the way that recruitment is done. And I think if you combine some of the older school tactics with some of the newer school methods of recruitment. That's what I'm trying to do. And by newer school methods of recruitment, I would say building communities, I would say building your brand, I would say adding value to your audience via podcasts, via mentorship schemes. So I think combining that with some of the more traditional methods like calling and phone contact and emails and messaging with AI, I think that's probably where I would like to go and take the company as a general sort of tactical approach.
Brilliant. Now, I know you well enough, and I know you're quite a modest guy, but you have had a really successful start with RX Group, which is brilliant. And you are growing, so you've been making some hires. Do you ever kind of sit back and think, I'm building something pretty special here?
Yeah, probably not enough.
Yeah.
Probably should do. But yeah, no, I definitely do. I mean, it's gone so quickly, like 2.5 years, and I've now started hiring people, which is amazing, and it's fun, but it has its challenges. But yeah, like I think my vision is to create a company that has a meaningful impact on the life sciences industry. And by meaningful impact, I mean in years to come, candidates that we've placed, customers we've worked with, and people that I've employed can look back at their time of working with RX Group or working for RX Group and think that really impacted my life in a positive way. And obviously there are numbers attached to what a meaningful impact looks like for me and for the company, and milestones to hit. But yeah, as a vision, I would love to have impacted as many lives as possible, both internally and externally.
Love that. What gets you out of bed in the morning when it comes to leading your team and building the business?
I just think it's exciting. I think I love building stuff. I love building businesses. Even in S3, I was always trying to get an opportunity to grow a new profit center. And I just enjoy the startup feel of growth and progression and hitting milestones, and almost like the scrappy nature of trying to win business and grow your business. I get a lot of satisfaction out of hiring someone and training them up and developing them and giving them some knowledge and experience that they would not have had. Like hiring someone that would not have been able to achieve what they will achieve in 10 years' time, whether that's buy a house or set up their family for future success, and giving them that opportunity is really fulfilling. So I think that's, for me now, for the next, and it always has been, that's something that really motivates me, is just the chance to impact people's lives by hiring them and building a career for themselves at RX Group. The other thing is, I'm biased, but I think working in the pharmaceutical or recruiting into the pharma and biotech industry is the best industry to recruit into, because you are literally placing people that are developing medicines and drugs that are changing and saving people's lives. So I think that, for me, when we work with customers and we place people with them, seeing the actual impact that these guys are having on patients is really special, and it's a really purposeful way of working, because you can actually see the progress that your companies are making and that your customers are making.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to something that you mentioned earlier, when we started in recruitment, it was a very different industry. For you internally with RX Group, what kind of culture are you deliberately building? And is there anything in particular that you really want to make sure you leave behind?
Cold calling. Want to keep cold calling. No, I think it's a different industry now than what it was 10 years ago. I think there is a place for traditional methods of how recruitment was done 10 years ago, calling people, but there is much more of a place, and the way that AI and technology is going these days, having a human touch is really important. So I think building communities is going to be at the heart of all of that over the next decade or so in recruitment. So I think what I would like to build a culture of is people that are real, true specialists in their niche. They're passionate about the market that they're operating in. They're future leaders. They can build teams, and people would like to work for them in the future, which essentially means they have to be good people, have good values that we all buy into, and they're passionate about the industry that they're working in. But really being market experts in their specific niche, I think, is really the crux of all of it. Because if you know and understand your market very well, and you're passionate about it, and you combine that with hard work and ambition, I think that's a winning formula. And I think if you can then start creating these talent communities of leaders and actually solving the problems that your customers have, that's when it becomes a lot more motivational and purposeful for people when they're working.
Why do your clients work with you?
It's probably the brand and the knowledge that I've got. And I worked really hard on that when I first started because I didn't have a network in the US. So I think over the last 2 years, we've built a strong community via the podcasts, via our mentor scheme, and we've got some really credible people in that space in that have been on the podcast and that are part of the community. There's a lot of stuff going on that people wouldn't see online within that community that's adding value to them. And from that comes a lot of referrals. So a lot of our customers come from people that have referred them to us. So what they're getting is the market knowledge and the passion about the market that we're working in. But with that comes speed in delivery, comes a good understanding of the candidates that we're working with, comes honesty, because if I don't think something or someone is right for a specific position or role, I don't want to be I don't want to be making, that's my reputation. So I think the key things I think that the clients like about working with us is the knowledge about our candidate base, the knowledge about the market, the speed of what we deliver on. We've got 100% fill rate on all contract positions, which generally speaking is a good indicator that we understand our market and understand our candidates.
What do some of your best client relationships look like?
If you really strip back, what does it actually look like? It would look like relationships with multiple stakeholders across the business. So HR, procurement, talent acquisition, C-suite, whether that's a CEO, a CTO, functional heads. So it's almost like a kite model across the business, whereby we've got relationships. We understand each specific function's challenge. We meet them twice a year in person. We meet them at least once a quarter over Teams or Zoom. And we are constantly working with them. So that means contractors or permanent placements. We've got multiple contractors with a customer. That's probably the first sign of that account is a account that we want to invest in. But I think multiple stakeholder relationships is probably the most important one, because we're then able to land and expand into the customer.
Why would you say no to a client?
It's changed over the last 2 years. I think initially when I was starting out, I would say no to a client if they weren't hiring the market that I was recruiting into, which was quality assurance. I did have a couple of opportunities which were outside my niche, and I thought that as good as it would be, it would distract me from my strategy of focusing on my niche of quality assurance. So that was probably in the early days. That's less of an issue now because we've got other people in different functional areas. But when I would say no to a client now is probably the time and respect and the relationship. But to work with a customer, there's a lot of boxes that need to be checked, right? They need to give us the time. They need to commit to the meetings. They need to commit to timelines. There needs to be an actual need there where we can support them, and they're not working with multiple other agencies. I'm not really interested in working with a customer whereby they're working with 5 other agencies. It's kind of a waste of everyone's time. So I think that there needs to be the trust and respect between the organization and us to start with.
What does the next 12 months look like for you and RX Group?
So the immediate sort of next 6 months, go for the second half of 2025, is getting the team up and running. So we'll be 4 people by end of this month. And by the end of this year, hopefully these 4 are up and running and have got a good customer base. And I think I don't want to hire too quickly. I don't want to, bring people on without the need to bring people on. But I would also like to, if people are doing well and our customer base is growing, then I'm excited about adding headcount and growing the business further. It'll depend on how the market is, how successful we are in the next 6 months. That'll probably dictate how 2026 goes. But I think for the next 12 months, it'll be about growing our customer base, diversifying into different functional areas, building communities outside of quality assurance, which is what we've done for the last 2.5 years. So looking at creating podcasts in the different areas and giving people opportunities to do that is quite exciting. So yeah, I mean, in short, it's hopefully expanding our customer base and growing the business.
Yeah, brilliant. And just on that as well, obviously you'll be kind of 4 heads by the end of this month, which is really exciting. Looking to go from there. What does a career path look like for people that are joining you?
Yeah, so I'm quite big on really clear promotion targets. So We have a clear structure from consultant to senior consultant, principal consultant, managing consultant, through to vice president. And everyone coming in knows exactly what they need to do to get to the next level from a revenue perspective, from a placement perspective, from a behavioral perspective. So it's really clear. It's there for everyone to see. And if people hit it, they get promoted.